systems for the oil industry and for pipelines. I'm also one of Gladys's board members for East County EDC.
Good afternoon. I'm Frank Ratas, and I'm the Regional Vice President of External Relations for SDG.
Steve Sampson, Vice President for Advanced Programs for Cubic Defense.
I'm Gladys Selfridge. I'm with the East County Economic Development Council.
I'm Sundari Baru. I'm a research economist at UCSD Extension.
I'm Tina Bell. I'm the research manager at the San Diego Workforce Partnership.
Ira?
Oh, I'm Ira Garcia from CACT office.
Okay. Jones?
I'm Del Salvador. I am at the VP of Instruction Office.
Okay. And on videotape?
James Farrell Plain, here from the IWC department. I will handle those earlier.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Just to give you a little background, I work with CACT San Diego, which is the Center for Applied Competitive Technologies. CACT was established in San Diego City College in 1989 by the State Chancellor's Office to focus on economic and workforce development. Our real mission is global competitiveness and making sure that in San Diego we are ready to meet the needs of our workforce partners. And in lots of different ways that we do that, through training, through workforce development, through consulting, through education, through working with K-12 and university partners, with economic development agencies, and doing incumbent direct working with you all, as many of you all who are here today. We've done direct work with you. And we also have a small business incubator, and it's Barry spoke up too. He's one of our small businesses that's in our small business incubator. That background, we've been here about 24 years. San Diego City College was awarded the role of Deputy Sector Navigator for Advanced Manufacturing in San Diego City College, San Diego Region and also Imperial County. And that happened in July 2013. And what that's really all about is the intent of that initiative was to create a regional collaborative where we would work with manufacturers, folks, technology, manufacturing, engineering related fields, and gather together folks in the region that provide services to you and work together to identify what are your needs, what is it that you really need, and how can we best partner together to provide that service for you. So what you have today is the workforce partnership here. You have folks from Continuing Ed. You have our faculty and our dean here that builds the educational programs for you. You have CACT that can do direct incumbent worker training for you. You have consulting groups that work with you. And what we're trying to do is all get on the same page in terms of what the needs are and how we can identify where we can best be of added value. Today, what we're going to try to do is take the current data that we're trying to develop and ask you to look at that data and make it real. We can throw a whole lot of numbers around and a lot of information around, but what we need to know from you is what that really means to you and where you need us to focus. So some of the things we want to do is determine the gaps in the workforce, promote integration of workforce training and employment, strengthen the programs that we're currently within the sector, provide incumbent worker training, provide opportunities for contract education and faculty professional growth, and leverage the technology incubator for small business development, because 90%, or actually I think it's 95% of all manufacturers in San Diego are small businesses. And so we try to really focus on not only the manufacturing as an entity, but how to support small businesses. We know that in San Diego, manufacturing remains a vital industry. If I had a dime for everybody that told me over the last 5 years that manufacturing was dead, I wouldn't be here. I would be along with the person that just won the Powerball. A lot of people said we weren't going to be here. But what's happened is there's been a real shift in the economy, and a lot of the outsourcing that's been happening is coming back to San Diego. And because of our closeness to the international borders and the Pacific Rim, we're really in a great position to meet that need as people are doing more insourcing of manufacturing. So we want to really help you be prepared and do what we can to make sure that we continue to strengthen that industry, because it is still strong in San Diego. According to Sandag's report in 2012, there are some industry clusters that are doing particularly well, and those that fit under the advanced manufacturing arena include pharmaceuticals and biomedical devices and products, clean tech, aerospace, navigation, and maritime technologies, and advanced precision manufacturing. So we have individuals here today who are doing manufacturing of medical devices. We have SDG&E, who's in the clean tech field. We have our ship repair partners who are in the maritime industries. And of course, advanced precision manufacturing, we have our machining program. And here at City College, Jack runs the only credit-based machining program in the county. And so we are really here today to, again, to try to gather information and make sure that these areas stay strong. And any other areas that we need to identify to focus on, we have a real clear understanding of where that focus needs to be. Some of the challenges and opportunities. Employers report a skill gap between manufacturing workforce available and the ones needed in industry. And we really need to know what those are. And again, that's what we're doing today. The shortage of qualified workers is expected to potentially get worse because now you need a lot of technology. Gone are the days when you could just know how to hold a hammer and be able to get an entry-level job in a manufacturing area and grow. Because today so much is automated that you really need to understand the technology, and technology is moving quickly, and we need to make sure we're keeping up with that. And so that's going to create a gap. Another area that's going to create a gap is the graying of America. Because there are so many retirements and so many people who are starting to retire, that's also creating a significant gap. And we hear that every day from our industry partners. There's a huge gap both at the beginning, the middle, and the end of the spectrum in terms of both the person who comes in at the ground level and the professional, because so many of them are walking out the door or getting ready to walk out the door. We have someone here today, I'm not going to point him out, I don't know if he wants me to, but we had a conversation earlier. He's 40-something years on the job. So he's doing it because he loves it, but if he leaves tomorrow, there's going to be a big hole in that organization, and we want to be in a position to help create a bench strength that be ready to take those positions. So some of the things that we're looking at to do is establish career paths and make sure we understand what are the right pathways to success in these industries, both currently and the future. Where do you see the future going in your industries and in your areas? And how do we make sure our education and training opportunities are building towards those areas? And we really need our industry partners to work with us to make sure we're building that appropriately. Also, looking at more stackable certificates. We get more and more requests for folks to have ways to identify the skills that individuals have. We do that a lot within our community college programs, but even on the workforce, having some sort of stackable certificate program in the workplace so that you understand what people have accomplished and there's some way to signify that. Providing incumbent worker training. We do a lot of on-the-site training in lots of areas, whatever it is you need. We try to create an atmosphere to provide that training for you. Capacity building, that includes training the trainers. So whether that's faculty members or whether that's your folks who are in your offices who need to become trainers, providing a resource and a way to do that. We have a lot of folks who are both contract and adjunct faculty who have great expertise. Most of our adjunct faculty are currently professionals, so they have a good gauge of both what's needed in the workforce and what the educational need is. A lot of those folks are available to help support you. Pipeline development, looking at those K through 12 through university partnerships. We're working right now with San Diego County of Education, really trying to build, starting at junior high school and before. There's a movement now to start kids at like 3rd grade. I don't know how you know what you want to do in 3rd grade. I think you want to be a fireman and a princess. I don't know how that works. But starting somehow a conversation about what a career might look like and really building and being part of that conversation that leads folks up through a certain career path. Refining and developing curriculum, again, looking and examining and working with our faculty to really look at what your needs are so the folks that come out of their programs are prepared to meet your needs in the workforce. Okay, so that's sort of an overview of why we're here and what it is we want to accomplish. And so I'd like to hear, just from that, if there's some thoughts that you all have about what you would like to have come out of this session as well that will help us gain that information. Not everybody at once, just one at a time. No needs, you just came to see what was happening?
From a school perspective, we're always trying to gain the pulse of manufacturing. And, you know, the reason I'm here, of course, representing the school, is the fact that we always have such a constant need for all levels of people that do machining, both conventional machining, CAD/CAM, CNC program, CNC machine. And, you know, it always behooves us to, you know, constantly keeping close to industry so we can see that we're trying to, you know, work together to satisfy those needs.
And you're going to ask, Gladys is going to ask you some specific questions later, so I don't want to duplicate that, but I would like to know from our industry partners, just in a nutshell, what do you see, and it doesn't have to be a technical need, what do you see as the number one need for your industry? What about the ship repair industry? What do you see as the number one thing you're looking for? I know. Jessica would let me start with her.
You know, we're bound by so many regulatory by the government, you know, standard items, you know, every day our target is moving. You know, 2 years ago it was about OSHA, it was about understanding everything that went with OSHA. Currently it's about staying safe, it's about the basic skills and entry level. We need all levels. It maintains our rate, you know, everybody can't be making $50 an hour. So we need all levels. And I think one of the key things that you hit on was the people who are retiring. We're at that point where, you know, our average age of our worker, there's more than a 20-year gap in the difference of where our senior management is. And these are supervisors, managers, that level of personnel who have 5 years left until they retire. So the question that we are now asking our own industry is who would replace you if you left? And how do we mold that person and get them into programs, whether it's leadership, whether it's, you know, advanced education, post-secondary, or whatever the requirements, what do we need to do to create those paths? So, you know, we're always looking for all levels. You know, one of the things that I hear my friends, you know, they encourage their kids to be accountants and they encourage their kids to be doctors. You very seldom say, okay, son, I want you to be a welder. I want you to go to welding school.
Yeah.
And that's where we find that the gaps are, and it's very difficult to find people to work in our industry.
And I think one of the things that would be important for your industry to know is that so many of the folks who are senior managers started at that welding and that fire watch position. So it's a place to start. It's not an end, it's a beginning. And I think that it's going to be helpful for students to understand that it is a viable way to get into the field. Ed, do you want to say something?
Yeah, one of the things that we kind of discussed quite a bit, I know we work with EDC and alcohol, those conversations about the perception of advanced manufacturing, the perception of what manufacturing looks like. East County's done a really good job of trying to bring the face of manufacturing to parents, students, and individuals that are looking for jobs, and by taking them on tours. I mean, some of these manufacturing plants, you know, Johnson Matthews, for example, I took a tour there and we're white suits there. You know, can't figure out what they're doing because they're so small, but you know, there were white suits there, and some of the other manufacturing plants, I know Steve makes convinced me that I think the whole general perception of the dirty, grindy shops is something that the industry suffers from, and I think we need to figure out a way to how to change that perception from the ground up, because to Jessica's point, you know, nobody says, hey, I want you to graduate from high school, go to college, go work in that grindy plant, or something like that. So I think it's a perception issue we also have to address. And they decided, we talked about this quite a bit, about how to change that perception. Elaborate a little bit on it. Briefly on this one, tell us from our outreach, from our channel.
I'm one of those people that came out of a town that's probably very close to bankruptcy right now, just because of the economy we live in. And I think whatever we do here in identifying the needs, at some point we have to stand back and put it into a global perspective. Because if one thing I've learned that a lot of my friends in small businesses learn is that if we're not competing on a global basis, looking over overseas at what we're doing, is it competitive with that? If we don't look at that, we're going to move forward. I think that's why we're hurting so much. You know, those great jobs. I grew up in a town that made steel. Most of those mills are now closed because they didn't stay competitive. And it's a really sad case. So whatever we do in manufacturing, we have to look across. We have to look at China. What do they do over there? Can we beat them?
financial is in quality, and in quality control. And it's not really played up enough. And I think if there was more emphasis put on regulatory and quality, as opposed to just the perception of the dollar value, I think that that really, really starts to balance it out a little bit more and create more of an apples to apples. On just a secondary note, just to build on what you were saying as well, we are seeing the whole retirement issue be a huge problem within our entire client base. The average age of most of the senior machinists in the companies we are working at are between 50 and 70. We have people that are 74 years old still working because they are senior, because they need them, and they continue to pay them. And again, the whole idea of changing the perception, creating an outreach platform, a true outreach platform that shows a viable career path that you are discussing, showing that this is a respectable profession and it's a dying art. And I think if we shift the terminology a little bit and allow people to understand that manual machining specifically is never going to go away. Yes, one of our clients, some of the data they gave us said that out of 100 resumes that they get, 75 of them will be strictly for a computer-based machining position. And that's huge. That's showing that people are not going into the manual machining positions. And we really need to encourage a combination of both. And today we brought some data to the for you all to the table to discuss some very key elements in manual machining that is missing in curriculum right now. It's the things that basically, when you come out of 3 months being in high school training, you go to college and you take a few courses. Now what? Okay, you go to work at a machine shop, and for the next 3 years, they're expecting you to be an apprentice and learn all these other things. It's very hands-on. So if we can shift some of the training curriculum to be included in school to add more hands-on, so that they will be at a higher level when they go in, they will be able to earn a better wage. So I think that there's some very definite, approaches we can take to this to really help the curriculum develop.
Okay, wonderful, thank you.
We're a huge engineering company, and we have a great deal of need for the new generation that's coming in, and we're in the same boat as many of you have indicated, whereby we have a very much of an aging workforce. And so we're placing a lot of emphasis on our succession planning and the hiring of the new generation that's coming in. And we have a great deal of need in, or the gaps, to your specific question was, where are the gaps? And for us, where we're seeing them is in well-trained engineers, in the mathematics, and that applies to us not only in the people that are like myself that are working in an office, but for our people that are out climbing poles and out there working on our system. That's a huge issue for us, and not only within our company, because our reach goes we don't do everything in-house. We'll contract it out. So there's a lot of electrical contractors, gas contractors, and what have you that do work for us that are in the very same boat that we're in. And so it's a multiplier effect. And for us, it's engineering, the math, those are the sciences where we see the gaps.
Nancy, did you want to do something? I'm just going to do a quick.
Absolutely. My name is Nancy. I'm the Human Resource Manager for Johnson Matthey. Most people don't know who Johnson Matthey is, but we're in everything you use every day. You just come to realize it. We're in your cars, we're in your food, we're in your drugs, we're in your industrial products, we're in your flat screen TV. And in California, San Diego specifically, we're in your medical devices. So we're in your pacemaker, your defibrillator, your surgical applications. We have a robust manufacturing facility, Carmel Mountain Ranch. It's lovely, it's growing. We're elbow to elbow. We're going to be relocating in a couple of years, and we're not finding qualified machinists to help take us to the next level. They're mostly CNC, multi-spindle lathes and mills, and we have laser technology, we have robotics coming in, and we're desperately seeking more machinists to help grow our business. And we love that San Diego City College has a machine technology program, and we want to help them grow this so that we have more pipelines of individuals coming through. It's so important for us. And we're not going anymore. We're staying in San Diego. We're not going to China. We're not going to India. We're not going overseas.
that's an ongoing need, and as time goes on and through these processes, and hopefully through some future grants, when we get information like that, our intent is to help Manu and Jack and Fred build those programs so that we can meet that need, and that's part of what we're doing today is help us identify where that real need is so we know where to focus those efforts. So if we've got a big company like Johnson Matthey saying, I need more machining and this is what they need to do, we need to help Jack be able to do that because he's just one man, one program. And same with engineering. Fred is an engineer and he's over the engineering program, and he can work with you to make sure that we're sending to you the folks that are going to fill those spaces that your retiring folks are going to leave behind. So that's sort of in a nutshell where we are. The rest of the afternoon, I'm going to turn it over to the researchers. We have to do some research to try to narrow down. The information I shared with you earlier came from a 2012 report, and we're trying now in 2014 to get more current data. And in doing that, because the manufacturing field is so broad, very often people do just think of machining, but really there's medical manufacturing, there's clean tech, there's biomanufacturing, there's machine, there's marine technologies, there's navigation. There's so many different areas that hit that field, and it's a wide spectrum, and we need to try to narrow it down, but not narrow it down so much that we forget the broad spectrum of things that are covered in manufacturing. And so the data that we have, we need a little help from you to dig into it and try to narrow down our focus for those of us that are trying to help provide that service to you. So I believe Tina's going to do a little welcome, and then we're going to talk to the researchers. Well, she's a researcher.
So good afternoon, everyone. I am with the San Diego Workforce Partnership again. So we are a funding entity essentially in the San Diego region. We get about $32 to $35 million from the Department of Labor to fund and invest in training programs all over the region. So we are now being very data-driven or research-driven where we invest our funding. We fund employers when they're hiring new hires for on-the-job training. We fund up to 50% of their training costs. We also fund individuals that are trying to train for a particular occupation, and up to $5,000 to $7,000 of their training programs for job seekers. So we do all of this investing in training, but a lot of job seekers are self-driven. So they decide which occupation, which industries they want to go in, and they don't have enough information to make the decision to go in the private sectors that we have identified, such as manufacturing. And so with this research report, we hope that this will be information that our career counselors in all of our training institutions, including the schools, in the high school level, we have youth programs as well as the adult programs, will use this information to educate their students, educate their job seekers so that they'll start applying and looking for training programs in this particular industry. And so with that, we partner with other research entities in the region. So it's a community collaboration. We have UCSD Extension here with us, helping us with the data collection, and also the East County Economic Development Council. So the three entities, including the community colleges, and Trudy's great help so far too, has been working together in this endeavor to get you all here, to get your feedback, put it on paper, and make sure that our training programs are funded the right way, or we're funding the right training programs. So again, data-driven, and that is our goal for today's event. So with that, we have a facilitator who will be overseeing this entire discussion, and then UCSD Extension as well as East County EDC would be presenting after that. So please do that.
Good afternoon. So it's kind of funny to be the facilitator when you've already started the conversation. But and the conversation that you started was great. And I just wanted to make sure, and I don't think I have to even say that in this group, but please do step up. Please do share. The only thing I ask is if you're tired of hearing yourself speak, guess what? So are we. No. Please make sure that those are next to you also speak, or if someone's passing you a note and it sounds like an interesting conversation, say it out loud. Because the more we hear, the better it's going to be. We are recording, but we're not attributing, right? We're going to do transcripts, but we really want to make sure we capture what's in the room. Sometimes it's hard to do it all, writing notes really quick, and there might be others who aren't here who could benefit from being here. Just as I was sitting on the sideline, I do consulting for a lot of different groups, looking at different issues. I'm like, oh, so-and-so needs to know that this is happening, and so-and-so. So there is these opportunities to bring more people together. So do share, do feel open. If there's anything that you do want off the record, because we do want you to share, but if there's something you feel like, well, just kind of off the record, why don't you just say off the record? Maybe we'll figure out what to do with the off the record comments questions, and then we'll go a little bit deeper and ask a few more questions, just to make sure that we're asking the right questions to get the right information that will help all of us be successful. If for any reason we're missing something, we're not asking the right question, just let us know. This is really, we want to make sure this research is pertinent to all of us so that we can really use it. And with that, I will leave it to you guys.
Oh, yeah, I have a presentation. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm trying to go back and forth here because I feel like I'm way back here. I'm Gladys Selfridge again with the East County Economic Development Council. So as was mentioned earlier, we're doing this presentation we're doing this survey or study with UCSC Extension. Susan is sitting right there. She's my partner there. So what we're really trying to get from you is, or from this study, is a profile of the manufacturing sector, advanced manufacturing sector in particular. So we want to identify what skills are currently are you not seeing from people? What occupations are you experiencing a high demand for? Where are you seeing those people that are starting to get towards closer to retirement age that you need to replace? What training can we do to be able to do that? So all of what Trudy said, but for us to really be able to do that, we need you to tell us. So just to tell you a little bit about us as a research team, UCSD, kind of feel like talking about them is, well, everyone knows them. They are a powerhouse research team or organization. The East County Economic Development Council, the main reason we're here at the table is because we have that relationship with industry. We've been having this conversation for years. I know many people here in this room just from doing that. As Smitty mentioned, we've been working with manufacturers to help increase the knowledge and to be able to increase the awareness about the manufacturing sector as in careers in that sector. So one of the things we've actually been doing with the City College CACT and other manufacturers as well, and also at the college, has been creating tours of manufacturing facilities. So we do different types of manufacturing. There's a lot of manufacturers here, but you guys do very different types of manufacturing. So we want to show that to people. So what we do is we do tours for job seekers and veterans, because a lot of them, especially veterans, already have a lot of the soft skills that we're looking for. So we want to make them aware about opportunities in your sector. So what we've done is we've toured manufacturing facilities, and afterwards people attend a panel presentation where they hear more about manufacturing. They're able to ask questions, and we also do this with high school students. Right now we've been doing them with the career technical education students, but we're actually going to be expanding it for those students who are in advanced math classes and engineering classes, so they can see what manufacturing looks like. There's, as has been mentioned, there's a stigma, there's this thought process that it's old school manufacturing, that it's dirty and it's not accurate at all. So we want to be able to expose people to those manufacturing, to those types of jobs. And another thing that we've done at the East County Economic Development Council is working with the San Diego Workforce Partnership is really talking to manufacturers. About a year and a half ago, I actually surveyed about 100 plus companies, manufacturers in particular, to hear about their concerns. It wasn't specifically workforce only, so now we're going into more detail and really delving into that. But one of the things I heard was, well, the people we hire are basically the family of the current employees. That's how we find out about it. Why? Because they know someone. Otherwise, honestly, I didn't know what manufacturing looked like until I got involved here. The average person doesn't know, so it's up to us to collaborate and to get the word out there and show others that there are a lot of opportunities and they're well-paying jobs too. And there's a lot of career growth in those industries. So we've been working really well, collaborating, and I think this oh my gosh, she really needs to know this, or the whole team needs to hear this, then please speak up, raise your hand, whatever. I don't want that train of thought to go anywhere. So, okay, for the project methodology, what we're going to do is, I mentioned we're doing surveys, but we're also doing focus groups, and we're also going to be doing interviews. So for the survey, what we're doing is we're emailing the manufacturing community here in San Diego County, and it's a quick 5-minute survey. We try to keep it as short and simple, but it's still important. And what we're asking them is we're asking about what types of occupations those manufacturers employ. What's the minimum education for those occupations? What is the future growth? Are they going to be hiring a significant amount of people in the next year? We want to hear what occupations they're going to be increasing. And also if they're facing challenges. And as well, we want to hear about any current training programs that maybe we're not aware of or that they really value. And if those training programs are meeting their needs, or maybe the training program is getting them halfway there, but they're still needs to be more developed. So we're also doing individual interviews, so we're going to be asking, this is where we're really going to get into the meat more so, and this is trying to keep it at 20 to 30 minutes, so this is after the survey, and we're not going to interview every single person that's surveyed, because that's going to be too many, but we're going to select people from all different industries, and we're going to ask them about the future workforce demands and specific workforce skills and knowledge gaps. So what machines are you guys using? We need to know that. What technical knowledge is missing that you're not seeing? Do you not have people that can read blueprints? Do you not have people that can work on multi-axis machines? What is it that's missing? Or in general skills too, math was mentioned, engineering. What is it that you're not seeing? And what is it that you're seeing too? So, again, the recommendations for education and training. So, we're also going to be doing focus groups, and that's going to be at we're going to be doing it in terms of industry, so I want to have the packaging companies together, the aerospace companies together, manufacturers in particular. But for today's purpose, we really wanted a broad overview because you'll see why. So, and that again is going to be focused more so on the general skills. So, as I mentioned, before we start our research, I really need your help on making sure that we're identifying those needs. So, first the easy question. Of all the manufacturers here, if you were asked, would you self-select yourself or would you identify yourself as an advanced manufacturer? Yes? Is there anyone that wouldn't? You would or wouldn't? Sorry, I can't see the names in the description. Oh, okay.
Will you define what you consider to be an advanced?
Well, see, that's what I want to know from you guys. Because this is kind of the question. We've got multiple manufacturers in the room. SDG&E, would you consider yourself an advanced? And Taylor Guitars, I'm wondering, would they're advanced? They do advanced manufacturing. They have lean processes, Six Sigma processes.
I think that, and Jacqueline or Fred might be able to answer better than I, but really it's a broad term that has to do with using advanced technologies. And so if you're using advanced technologies for the work that you do, a Taylor guitar probably does. Even though it's a simple product of guitar, they're using advanced technologies to get to that end product. So that's really what it means is versus a simple mom and pop print shop that might not use new technology, that might still be doing what they've been doing for a long time. They may not consider themselves advanced manufacturers, but probably most manufacturers would because they're using advanced technology.
So what I want to know too is, if I sent you an email survey and I asked you this question, would you say no? Because I don't want to exclude certain types of manufacturers just because I wasn't there to ask to rephrase it. Yes?
I can tell you that the phrase advanced manufacturer these days actually represents someone doing more than just a CNC. That's the reflection. We're looking at other technologies. And the truth is what you're saying is that they're all manufacturers, they're all using advanced
a lot of manual work for companies like Solar Turbines. I mean, you have to be very specific about what the product is that's coming out of that location. And quite often, it's combined technology. It's a combination of manual and advanced technology. And I think this really is, I agree with Kathleen, is a very misleading term. And I think maybe you need to redefine what this is and how you state it.
Thank you. That's what we're looking at. Honestly, I've looked at just removing the question and just somehow filtering out those print shops, because that was what I was afraid of, is people that we would consider in this category not self-selecting and missing out on what they have to say.
On print, are you strictly talking about like large-scale print, things like this? Because here's the thing, there are also manufacturing locations that strictly deal in product development, R&D, and actually create some pretty considerable blueprints and prototype models, and I don't think you can exclude them.
That's true. So maybe we just open it up to all manufacturers.
Well, if I could refine the question, do you use advanced processes?
If we asked, do you use advanced processes or innovative technologies, would that be not any clear?
I think you have to really nail exactly what you're asking for. In specific language, this is too much of a broad brush scope here. I come back and I say, well, are you talking about the product? Are you talking about the equipment to the manufacturer? Are you talking about who your manufacturer sells its products to? Way too broad.
It's too relative.
Focus on that.
It's way too broad. For example, Berry manufactures proteins.
Right. Yeah, I wouldn't focus on the advanced piece. I wouldn't focus in that area. Yeah, Frank, you had something.
Well, it's
It's not a easy question.
it's subjective.
Exactly.
If you want to find out if they consider themselves a manufacturer of sorts, ask the question, do you manufacture products?
Do you use this process? Or the flow chart method? That's more direct questions instead of just some generic, do you think that you're important to manufacture?
It's gonna mean something different to everybody.
Yeah,
Right.
you have to target what you're trying to find, I think.
We have the question, do you manufacture products or goods? But then on top of that, we have this one, and I wanted your expertise and your guidance. So I'm glad we asked. Yeah. Do you have any other questions with that one? Okay. Thank you guys. Seriously, that helps a lot, because if I asked that question, survey could have been totally different. So that's why we didn't want to move forward without having this conversation with everyone.
Just to give you a background, too, a lot of politicians, a lot of the community organizations, we call it advanced manufacturing. And that's how we noted it through all sorts of articles. So we assume that the industry calls themselves that, which is why this came up.
It's totally different when you're outside of it than when you guys are inside of it. So, okay, so that was the easy question. So the next one, I totally expect to go into some discussion and dialogue, and that's great, because that's what we want. So I'm going to pull up a spreadsheet with a list of occupations, and I'm actually going to hand down, so you guys can just pass it around the room there, just down the room, a list of occupations. So, here.
Is it one page?
Yeah, it's just a one-pager. And if you can go through, what I want to do is go through down this list, and please tell us, are we missing something? Are we grouping occupations how they shouldn't be grouped? What we're going to be doing with this list is asking the manufacturers if they can check off those occupations where they currently employ people, so their current employees, and the minimum education level for this occupation, as well as the number of people they expect to hire in these occupations in the next year. So here's the list. It looks a little bit long, but what I want to do is just go down the list, and please raise your hand if you have any concerns, questions, no idea what this is, or and just think of it from if you were taking this survey in your office, would this make sense? And also if maybe it doesn't make sense, for example, we have drafters, engineering technicians grouped. Maybe there's a problem getting drafters, but not engineering technicians, and we should really break these up. We got these from
Are you gonna go down the list, or would you like us to tell you if we see something?
Well, what I want to do first is go down the list,
Okay, go.
just so we don't miss anything, and then afterwards, tell me, okay, that's not even on the list anywhere. And again, also if it's grouped in a way that doesn't make sense, or that it's just, yeah, if it doesn't make sense, then please say something as well. So the first one, we have the business and financial operations occupation. Friends.
I was wondering if you have a similar survey for skills specific to manufacturing rather than occupation?
Yes, that's going to be in the interviews and the focus groups that we're really going to focus down on the skills. But first what we want to do is get an idea from the general survey, which occupations, and then we can go and ask for those specific occupations there's a high demand for, what skills are missing.
For these occupations, we're going to tie them to the zip codes, so we know what kind of training programs would fit into those, are required for those occupations.
Well, what I'm wondering is that everybody seems to think that manufacturing is a broad entry, and people don't necessarily have to hire when they start out, but they have a skill or they grow into a skill. So I was looking at, I was wondering if you had some skill or some skill.
What types of skills are looking for? We're doing it almost from the different sides. So what we're doing is looking at it from, okay, what jobs do you have, and then finding out for those jobs that they have a high demand for and challenge filling, what skills those occupations have. So that way, and I understand a lot of them are staffable, but go across.
I think one of the areas that's going to be difficult with that, though, is every single company has a different definition of what each of these jobs entails and what skill sets are necessary. So I think identifying the skill sets are much more important than identifying the specific occupation or job title.
So identifying the skill sets that are missing in general
That
for
are necessary in order to build the workforce to provide.
I sort of agree with what they're saying, and the reason why is once you identify the skill set, this will easily fall out by identifying the skill set.
So don't even ask them what jobs they're hiring.
You can use this as a sorting mechanism.
Yeah, but don't use it as the focus. Because, I mean, I have ink all over mine, but that doesn't mean that she's going to have the same, or you see, because all of our industries are different. We're in the ship repair. I mean, helpers are applicable, inspectors are applicable, machinists, tooling, installation, maintenance, repair. All these terms are key to our industry, but they might not be in someone else's. So if you focus on the skill, I think by default, these things will fall out.
It's going to be a very deep process. You do want that, don't you?
Oh, yeah, definitely. But that's why we're trying to do the general one first, trying to get an idea of what types of occupations. But what I'm hearing from you is that we should really be looking at what types of skills they're looking for.
So manufacturers hire by skill rather than for the job.
Both.
It's both.
Both.
I do think this is an excellent starting point, because when I look at this, I just nod and I say, yeah, this makes sense. Seems, computer numerically controlled machine tool programmers. I mean, that's very basic. I mean, I think it said that in itself says enough.
students that come to him in his program, he needs to assess where they are for their math skills, reading skills, and those basic skills to even get to one, to even get to any of these classifications. And I think one of the things that we're missing on the occupational side of this discussion is, are we doing a good job on the front end to even get you ready to go into these, any specific skill sets?
You know, it's extremely true. You know, we are talking primarily about an engineering shop, that in order to come in ground level, you have to have serious math skills, geometry, trigonometry, advanced levels. I mean, really, who coming out of high school can really say they passed trig with flying colors here? So, yeah, we have to look at the ground level first, but these are important, viable skill sets that we're looking at coming in entry level.
One of the things, just as a point, Jack and I work together, we're putting together a training program, and one of our people at our table actually said he can turn out a CNC operator in 3 days from scratch. And, you know, that conversation that we had is like, yeah, 3 days.
Don't worry, we won't send any of you to hire.
It wasn't me.
It wasn't me. Trust me, it wasn't us. But this gentleman was sitting at the table saying he could turn a CNC operator in 3 days, and he's a veteran. I said, okay, but really? And, you know, just going through the basics of putting together a training program from the ground up, he sees these folks at the ground level, and I think Jack, you probably have the best ground level perspective of where these STEM core skill sets are when they come to your program. What do you see there?
Well, it's pretty low for most people. You know, and they have to start with basic math. You know, I mean, believe it or not, we have a basic machine class, a 140 class. And we actually, my instructor that has that class, he teaches them how to add, subtract, multiply, divide fractions. So if anybody thinks they're going to turn out a programmer or an operator in 3 days, they must be starting with a much different group of human beings than we traditionally see, you know, wanting to get into our field. You know, we have a lot of people that are ESL students. So, you know, just right at the beginning, it takes them longer. You know, their reading skills might not be as strong. It takes them much longer. So, you know, graph a sine across variable planes, that's the math. You know, we do trigonometry, we're calculating polar coordinates for bold circles or angles, and we teach it as needed in the classes as they apply. And it works so much better that way. You know, it's proven for adults, we learn better when we know there's a real need for it. So, you know, just you need it when you grow up. We're too old for that anymore. So that's, we teach it as we go.
Well, one of the things we want to do is, we totally understand the importance of those math skills and engineering skills, but the reason we want to identify what jobs are needed is, like Mary said, to be able to identify the demand.
Sure.
And then going into looking at those technical and soft skills that are still needed and showing where they're stackable. And there is the ability to change careers essentially just because you have the essential skills necessary. But we want to be able to show that. But to be able to show the demand and really justify moving forward with training, we kind of need those numbers.
There's nothing up here about software, so your only interest is tangible products?
And that's what I want to hear. Because
What about safety or environmental?
Like OSHA?
OSHA. I see a little bit of QA, but vague.
It's a certification. Yeah.
Where are they reading, writing, and math? And it doesn't matter if they've been there 20 years and you know, they were a director's nephew who happened to give them a chance, they started off with a helper. We do an assessment, and based off of the assessment, really, there is no way to say this is a 2-year program or a 3-year program. Really, it's based on the results that we get from you. And based on those basic assessments of reading, writing, and math, we'll determine where they start. We have some people that are really good readers, but their hardship is math, or vice versa. We have an 80%, 75% Hispanic race, and we've taught ESL probably 4
4 consecutive years to our employees that have been there 15, 16 years. But because we were Southwest Marine small mom and pops, they were able to get in under a different umbrella. So they stay. It's the same welder that learned in their uncle's garage and were brought up learning that way. And initially, English wasn't a requirement. If you could weld, that's what we wanted. It wasn't a factor. We were bought by VA, requirements, corporate requirements, safety, all of those other crazy things that come along with being a corporation. Now, the bar, and even our customer, wants us all to have a PhD, and if you're a PhD in sweeping, they want you to have a PhD in sweeping. So our customer continues to ask more of us. And so we have to get creative in our industry and provide these paths. And that's what I do with training. I do one-on-one coaching where I'll sit with somebody and they say, okay, I've been here for 5 years. This is what I've done. When I started, I was 28, and now I'm 48, and I don't want to be on my knees anymore. So what do I need to do now? What's the path for me? Where do I go? Can I go into estimating, where it's a desk job where I only go to the ship maybe once a month to estimate a job or a contract? How do I get into safety? So we created a progression tree. But the moral of what I'm trying to say is it starts with an assessment. And the assessment is what gives us, 5 people, and they're all at different levels. And to say that it's a 2-year program, that's not a true statement. It depends on where the employee is.
And I have to absolutely agree with you 100%. Even in some of the small shops that we work with that are not real big, one of the first things Cynthia and I do is go in and ask them, what kind of career pathing opportunities do we offer? Because the retention is such a big deal in this industry as well. People will move to wherever the money is, or whether, wherever the opportunity is. On that note, I think it's important that we partner with the educators as well to explain to people that this isn't necessarily something where you can just put a finite time period on this. This is really about skills, ability, and moving forward. One of the heads of production at one of our shops told us that there are some people who come in 3 years, they've done what someone in 5 years normally would have done because they have maybe accelerated math skills. Or someone else, it might take them 7 years because they really struggle through the math, but they're really amazing in other areas, and so they offset the skills based on that. So yeah, I absolutely think the assessments are vital.
Some of the fruit on the tree from doing that in the past 3 years, we have a citizenship, which has nothing to do with this, but we have a citizenship program that our company will offset the cost, some of the costs, a good 75% of the cost to become a U.S. citizen. That program, because of the progression program, has grown 500%. We have more people who are converting to American citizens because of our industry. If our employees want to travel and continue to work all year long, you have to be a U.S. citizen to work in our Hawaii yards. So there's certain requirements. And it is never in many years that we put those two together. But the people who have joined the progression program, who are going to the city colleges and taking the English and the math and the reading, nowhere in the 8 years did we think that those two would come together. We've had literally a 500% growth in our employees becoming U.S. citizens because of their ability to now read, write, and do math.
That I'm sure helps your retention.
One other point, back to Steve, if you flush out your question, I don't think we actually flushed your question out when it comes to software. What do you see when you say software? You're talking about software engineering. I mean, I know that they're in that arena. A lot of people have the stackable credentials. They may not have gone through a traditional college environment. They've gone through the technical environment. What are you seeing on your side in the industry of the gaps or the needs in that software? Because that's what drives the production.
It's a broad answer, but there's virtually nothing that we make that isn't some combination course where the skeleton of what is the software supposed to do. The personality of so much we do is driven not by nuts and bolts, but by zeros and ones.
I want to take a step back a bit about the occupations, because again, ultimately, this is a report that is presented to career developers and job seekers. So for them to help identify in the industry, they identify based on job titles. When you're a job seeker, you look at what are available job positions that are posted, and then you look at the skills that you qualify for. So that's why we're doing this CACT, and I would love for us to focus on, are we on the dot with this list, or as you said, we don't have software. So if there are any other job titles you remember posting online that has not been filled for the past year, please let us know, and that can be included in our list.
One thing I started writing on here as well, it's, we're finding, you can't just say engineer, because an engineer could be a plumber, hardware, electrical. You need to have, because each industry is looking for a different variety. And so, I think if we just wrote some notes and people wrote the things that were important to them, I think would be a good framework, because a lot of these are just too generic. And I wouldn't want to necessarily, an engineer, maybe. Those, I think if you fleshed it out a little bit, I think it would give you more data.
Are you suggesting you flush it out now and give your papers to them?
Yeah, I just figure while we're sitting here, that's my suggestion. I'm just writing down the suggestions that I have, and so I think that would be. So, for example, I don't know what a mapping technician is. Has anybody heard of a mapping technician? Say that again?
GIS mapping.
There you go.
Well, I think.
But I would put you, because I have no idea what mapping technician is.
Well, some of them aren't relevant for all the industries, it just depends. So there's some that have, tool and dining, well, some that wouldn't have, I'm trying to see which one, food processing workers, for example, wouldn't be relevant for all of them. So,
But we have a lot of food processing people here in San Diego.
there's, yeah, we do.
We do.
Yeah, we do.
So there,
So
there are,
should have that.
so I think that, painting workers,
Yeah, what about that?
I mean, there's different kinds of paint. So, so it depends on whether you're doing powder coating, whether you're doing painting. So, and that's a huge industry here because there's a lot of powder coating and painting that goes on here in the maritime.
So do you think it would make sense to have examples instead of having it
Yes.
too broad?
Like bullet points under maybe,
Right.
have a category like engineering, and then you could say like electrical, mechanical, software, so people would say, yeah, we have those.
There's some blank spaces so they can write in if we didn't capture what
Other-
you have.
We have that other space, but still, we want to try and capture as much.
I would capture it under this specific topic. So if you said about engineers, flush out software, mechanical, other. Because you're looking for something that maybe isn't there.
Just a drop-down box that cascades to the different type of engineering disciplines. You could say I'm a lawyer, but they're all different types of lawyers. So, but, yeah. So, right.
Thank you, this is helpful.
Can I ask you, you've got inspectors, do you mean QC, quality control, or is that just walk around shop inspectors? What?
This is from the SOC, the occupation codes, but I'm thinking of this QC, quality control. But again, obviously, that's not clear, so big thing on this.
So Lex, just to kind of help keep you on track a little bit, you've got your list, I think we understand now what you were trying to do. I like the idea of having a drop-down menu that really defines what those different areas are. And people that are here that want to give you notes, we'll have them pass them back to you. But I think what we're getting is that these are good occupation codes, but we'll need to flush them out just a little bit because they mean different things to different people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for summarizing. Do you have anything else to say?
I'm just going to say, that on the CNC machines, those locations, you have it listed as metal and plastic. I certainly wouldn't do that. You say Taylor Guitar does most of their CNC machining in wood, so if they were being real objective, they would need a CNC machinist. But they have about 70 machines that keep running 24 hours a day. I put ferrous and non-ferrous materials, or various alloys, or something, but not traditional metal or plastic, for example. I mean, that's too narrow the other way.
That's an example of the code's not catching up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, because, you know, then you see carbon fiber, you know, or whatever it might be, so.
I think that's a lot of it. We've used a lot of the codes, so I'm thinking that clearly they're not.
Oh, we were looking for some top codes the other day, having the same discussion. You know, how do we describe ourselves nowadays? It's very hard to do, because it hasn't changed to keep up.
And I might just take out metals and plastics.
I would.
Just as
I would just take it
computer
out altogether.
machine operators.
You know, take out the metal and plastic.
Okay, so does anyone have, looking at this list, is there anything that I want to make sure we cover this that shouldn't be grouped together? Does it make sense that we have the agricultural, biological, and chemical, geological, and nuclear technicians?
It's pretty broad.
There's something in there for
Slightly. Should we, the reason we also group some of these is that when someone's doing a 5-minute survey, because we really want to try and keep it at 5 minutes to try and encourage responses, is if they have a list of 70 occupations to scroll through, they're not going to do it. They're going to stop. So we're trying to also get a high response rate.
You'll lose me after 5 minutes.
What was that?
No, I said you'll lose me after 5 minutes, yeah.
See,
That was, everybody has a schedule, we're all doing stuff, so you're right.
So, but that's why we're trying to also limit it to a manageable number of occupations, quantity. So, and is there something that really should have been grouped together? Yes?
I have a question. Like, for example, in engineers, there's so many types. Could you say engineers and then have a line that says for them to write in the type of engineer rather than to have this, like,
That
and likewise
actually
with
might be
technicians?
possible. So
Or
we
we have
have
a
that.
drop-down box with options for them to write, right?
But can they not write in?
They can.
They can. That's a great suggestion.
That might decrease the broadness. I mean, agriculture doesn't really go with food.
Yeah, that's
Hey, how do you know that?
that's a great
Last, are
suggestion.
you still anticipating doing this over the phone?
So we're doing it multiple ways. We're doing this in a large email blast and tracking those people that respond, and for those that don't, we will be following up with them, and over the phone would be one of the ways we'll be doing it.
Just different.
Did you say what universe you're working? Are you working primarily just the East County or?
No, this is San Diego County-wide.
Okay.
And it might be expanded later to Imperial County as well, but this is San Diego County-wide.
My question for you is that if you're doing, this is just way too broad. And if you pick up the phone and call me in the middle of the day and ask me, want to do this, it wouldn't happen. Because you can't visualize it. So I think the more accurate way to do it, especially with the drop-down boxes in the category, is by, point and click on an email, somebody's gonna spend that time to do it. But I think what everybody's saying here, if I'm here, these are so broad and generic that it's really, I don't want to see us do a report with skewed numbers based on broad, we're trying to drive this, chunk it down.
We'll see.
So how, we all on the same page that this is all too broad?
So,
Well, I think that, I don't remember who it was that said, write your ideas down, and if you write the ideas down and we turn them into her, and then she can compress our ideas and merge them in the areas where that they should be, I think that that's a better.
yes, and they are very broad, just to make sure everyone understands, they're very broad, but that's when we're going to do the interviews and the focus groups to find out, okay, we've been hearing from the survey that these groups, and then reaching out to people with those occupations and getting more specifics, getting the very specifics, what type of machines, what exactly what skills.
I offer a suggestion. One of the things that we do, because we have a metric back to the Department of Commerce, is a survey for our clients. And it is nearly the most impossible thing to have them do. It can take less than 5 minutes. I actually have to make an appointment and sit with people to actually get them to do it. So what that says is that doing a survey that takes any more than a few seconds, they're not going to. So what I would suggest is we have segmenting based on a hierarchy of what would you like to know first. lots of discussion about that. And then we can discuss here, what kind of categories should we look at that are really the targets and go after them. Because if I got that, I'm not going to spend any time doing it. So I think what we're finding is that we have a short attention span, and if we want to get real data, we need to really focus it and see if we can't get the response that you're looking for.
Yes, one other thing too is I think it's really important that prior to doing this, there has to be some sort of a very targeted outreach campaign explaining the goal of this and why we're doing it. Because if you don't educate people as to the importance level of this and what potentially can be the outcome of this and how they're going to benefit from it. Because that's all anyone wants to know is how am I going to benefit? They don't care about their neighbor, they care about themselves. So let's figure out how to also position this properly before rolling it out. And I think you will get a much greater response rate and give them a little bit of background and education on what's expected, what you're looking for, and give them some parameters.
You can ask of each of us, and we all have our stovepipe of knowledge, but why not go through the regional job opening ads and see what are the titles and the skills? And we get an 80% answer just by looking at what people are asking for.
You see, again, you're going into skills, which is what we're talking about, which is a reversible from that.
You gotta get behind the title.
Go to Craig's list. I'm trying to get my head around all this, but I think for me, it's a matter of perspective, and that's what the fundamental flaw is with this approach, is, from our company, we got started, we're a bunch of PhD chemists that put together sensor technology, and we knew we had to scale up, so we actually looked for a piezoelectric custom deposition polymer specialist. That was from our perspective. So that person, if you asked me this question 6 months ago, I would have said, well, that would be a chemical, maybe biological technician. I'd answer that, that's what we're looking for. But after 4 months, nobody applied for the position. We realized because what are we doing? Our sensors are just polymers that we coat onto a surface. So we really need to be looking at the automotive or the optics and trying to find somebody who understands how to do plastic coatings. Within 2 weeks, we hired a guy to do the job. But right now it's like he's a painting worker because that's what the guy's doing. So, so my answer, depending on where I'm at, is going to completely define how I'm going to ask your question, and so this could be your data. So I think going for the skills that I'm looking for is far more important to me.
That's what I'm wondering, if we can just sit down and look at. So does everyone, I'm really hearing this from everyone. So what you guys think would be more valuable would be, instead of occupations in general, just list all the skills and ask them what skills are you looking for and what skills are you not seeing. And I don't know from the workforce partnership perspective as far as, I know that's not exactly what we were discussing, so.
The only thing I see is going to be a real headache with that is, I'm going to use the example of blueprint reading. People will call me on the phone, do you teach blueprint reading? I said, what do you mean by blueprint reading? Well, I know they think I'm an idiot when I say that, right? So then I say, do you mean mechanical blueprint reading? Are you talking about electrical schematics? Are you talking about hydraulics? Are you talking about welding? So if you just put down, do you need to know blueprint reading? Everybody's telling you need blueprint reading. It's what type of blueprint reading. So, you're not, the task thing is a good deal, but at the same time, that can whittle itself way down. It's like we're splitting atoms now. We're down into electrons and neutrons. So it's going to be a big, big deal, data. So.
Let me see if this, I don't know if this was clarified. We're doing these for 5 sectors in San Diego County. And we're pulling together advisory committees like you, and we're asking our assistance. And in some cases, we have the data, the LMI data, demand and supply. So we're able, by pulling these lovely categories, to be able to do a research study that we will present to the advisory committee, people like you, that's going to say, here is what we know is happening in San Diego County in terms of demand. This is what you guys are hiring. This is how many we know of, all through data that we can acquire, through sources that Workforce Partnership and our labor market person has access to. And then we're going to get all of the same information for the supply side, which is all of the folks in training, whether public or private. And we're going to come to you and we would say, here's the data. Does it look right to you? If it says, for instance, in machining, oh, you don't need anybody. I bet we'd hear, a huge cry, there's something wrong. But in some of these other sectors, it isn't emerging. It's fairly clear, and we can take data, look at it regionally, present it to an advisory committee, find out, okay, what's missing, what doesn't look right, and then we're going to do research on that part, because they're going to tell us there's something wrong there. You're missing out. Or they're going to say, no, it looks pretty good, and here's where we see the gaps and where we'd like you to do something about it. That gives us marching orders. We can then go back and with our various funding streams say, this looks like a community college level thing we can work on. We're going to take that back and see if we can help resolve that so that industry can grow. Or workforce partnership says that's right in ours. Or the career pathways we're working with the high schools on integrating the academics so the kids know why they need trade, etc. So we're trying to be very useful with the information we get. But in some of the sectors, like renewables, advanced transportation and renewables, and this one, we figure it's emerging that just looking at the data you guys have all torn apart very nicely here, it wouldn't do us well. If we presented you with an accomplished report and asked you to look at it, you probably wouldn't be happy with it because you're going to tell us that it isn't telling you what you know is happening out there, and more importantly, what's going to happen. Because the retirements haven't all happened yet, and I hear that clearly, that that's a big issue. And it's emerging, and we're all trying to get on the bandwagon to say, how do we support, like biotech was supported, how do we help support this emerging sector? So what we decided, this little group of us, is that we come to you first. Your real meeting isn't until June, when this report is supposedly done, and we're going to come to you and say, what action plans do you have for us after you see this whole completed project? But now we're here today because we're saying we're at a loss. We don't know exactly what to do, so let's get you together. We've got a fine provider in UCSD Extension and East County EDC who are willing to do that extra step to go out there and do employer surveys, focus groups, etc. Because we've got workforce partnership partnering with some money, in addition to Tina, who's great. So it's okay. And so this is, this, I don't know if you know this, but you've got about 4 educational agencies working together on the same subject for the first time in many a year. And we are trying not to unnecessarily duplicate what we're doing and ask you guys to come to 4 or 5 different meetings for the same reason. So we are trying to look at it regionally, and we're trying to do something that isn't wasting your time, our time. I'm retired. I do this part-time because I think I'm crazy. And it's because it really will make a difference if we can get the region really thinking about it. So your advice, believe it or not, as crazy as it sounds, is really good because we don't need to waste time. So one of the things I'm hearing you say, and I'm not sure that you're representative enough, excuse me, I don't know you that well. I don't know if you're representative of our whole region yet, but if you are, then what I would say to you is, we can do the data we already have on all these, and if you can tell us the top 5 we need to research on, we can do that. If you feel you're a representative of manufacturing, what is and what will be, and you can make that list of the areas we need to do the research on, we could do that. Tina, am I right? But we don't know the answers, and we don't want to waste our money, our time, or yours. So that's where we're at. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay, let me ask a question. How many questions on your survey? Okay, you want people to do 12 questions in 5 minutes.
Oh, some of them are really easy. Do you
Okay.
manufacture, produce goods? Yes.
Okay, so then what I say is if we alter this list and make it any longer, it's going to take longer than 5 minutes, and there's no way that people are going to finish it or give you a good response. I mean, surveys, I'm sure you are a researcher, you're aware of limitations of surveys and how many you get back. And it is clear from what you all are saying that this is too broad and not representative enough. But what she's saying is that she's going to follow up with it and make it, get the details, the specific details from it. So in the interest of moving on here with this, and the fact that she only wants a survey that takes 5 minutes, would everybody be okay with moving along with what we have on the page, and
In addition to our ideas.
in addition to your ideas a little bit, have what we have on the page, and then hopefully what we need to find out comes through in her follow-up reports.
Exactly, and we'll also add thank you, we'll also add examples in there in like italics and smaller font, so that way it's not too much reading too. And again, with your suggestions. But one of the things that we did find out from Steve, software, that's huge, it's missing. It's critical, so that will be definitely added on there. And same with environmental safety. That's really important, especially here in California.
So kind of building on, go ahead.
One last shot at this.
Yeah, and we're gonna work on this one
When I go to
more.
work,
Yeah.
when I open my email, and if this thing hit my email, it would be just passed over real quick. That's all it is. If you can set up the survey in such a way, get it to 3 to 5 points, break this thing into 3 to 5 major sections. If a person clicks on one, it opens up another window with 3 to 5 more points. Like a foaming tree. I'll do that for you. I think that a lot of people that are colleagues of mine will say, okay, if you've got the right verbiage up top saying this is how important this is, give us 5 minutes of your time. And make it, 5 minutes, and it's done. Get your first set of data that looks like you're getting the right answers. Do another survey if you have to, just bring out the right things you want. But make it fast. I'm not going to say dirty, but make sure that each point goes to another window that's relevant to that person's industry sector. Because I don't want to read about everything on the bottom half, because if you open up one that says agricultural, biological, chemical, geological, nuclear technicians, that's going to catch my interest very quickly. And if I click biology, I'll follow that tree down and tell you what I think we need. And I think a chemist will tell you the same thing, but it's got to be a chemistry tree.
Well, and that goes kind of to what our next question was, if I can do this right. The next one, which is kind of what came up earlier. If you were going to say, what are the top 3 from this list that are, the top 3 that you have the highest demand for? We'll just go around really quickly and just say them off the top of your head. That can kind of help us figure out the groupings.
Well, I teach CNC programming and machining, that's my expertise. I work with most of these companies all the time. So it'll be the machinists and the programmers.
Great.
But I'm biased.
Engineers, technicians, lead manufacturers.
Great. Cynthia?
Welder.
Got down to 1.
You picked the best one.
Well, it's good, repeat so that we know, because we'd rather hear repeat. And we're like, okay,
Machinists,
and welding.
CNC welding, yes.
Okay, perfect.
The exact same thing.
The bullet that says installation, maintenance, and repair, that's 1. And then I would say welders, and then I would say machinists.
Great.
Welders.
Welders? Great.
Machinists, technicians, and quality, which quality is,
Okay, perfect.
Machinists, programmers, inspectors.
Great. You two at the end want to add anything?
No.
Okay.
Biotech, pharmaceuticals, bioinformatics.
Great.
I think it's very specific. I know the next 3 jobs we're hiring, it's an intrinsic safety certification specialist. Our enclosures have to be intrinsically safe, so we have to have somebody who can design the plastics enclosure for that. And then we have to have somebody who can do quality control in that environment.
Great. Great. Steve?
After software, of course, the challenge we have right now, we're precision manufacturing, highly precise things for electro-optic devices. Finding people that can be at the very leading edge of precision is hard.
Steve, can I ask you, do you mean like precision grinding, or like lenses and things like that, or?
Precision machining and electro-optic devices.
Okay.
Good. Because that helps us kind of start figuring out how to put them together. So we're thinking more like you're thinking,
5XXX, aluminum, flex, TIG, there's so many, and they're required at different levels from a helper who just observes and watches up to a journeyman 1 through 5. All those different levels of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all have different certs. Some have minimum of 9 certs, some minimum have others, depending on your grade and what you're working on, 10 or 15 welding certs, 5XXX, there's just so many out there that,
We don't want to add all of them.
yes, it's a lot.
But they're all just as valuable,
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
and that just depends on where you come in as far as.
Well, it depends on the job, it depends on the job, it depends on the standard item, it depends on, what we're doing for the particular, 90% of our work is on for government vessels, Navy ships. So you have to be able to weld, you have to be able to torque it, it has to pass an X-ray, there are compliances and standard items that the Navy says that a weld must look like this.
And are you finding people that are able to torque it but not?
Unfortunately, we have a harder time finding someone from the outside and molding them into that than we do, like, we might have 2 people that have 20 certs, for example. And you say, well, why can't you give 10 people 2 of all of it? Because they just can't, it's a technique. It's a skill. And you might say you want to be a welder, but it's a lot more than one.
It's an art.
It's
It absolutely is an art, and that's one of the reasons why this is so difficult, is because these jobs are not being viewed as art forms or as a skill that is as valuable as a college degree. And so this is a problem, and it takes a very special person with very specific skills to be able to use a lathe and use a mill and use, a manual machine versus using a CNC that can be computer programmed, that is going to be completely accurate every single time.
If you ask 95% of our welders, they'll tell you, oh, my uncle had a shop and that's where I learned. It wasn't, I went to the city and I got training and here's my certificates. Now, because of regulatories and things that are changing in our industry, that our customers is mandating us that we change, that's where we're having to go after these certs, to stay compliant with ISO standards. I mean, that's huge. Those are all huge things that impact our contracts, impact our award fee, impact us staying in business.
And, and I think everyone probably has a similar story depending on what they're doing. And this is important for us to hear.
To Jared's point, when we talked about being able to computerize a program a machine, you still need to know the theory. At the bottom line, you still gotta have a theory of where you get that. And your basics and your stem, because it just makes you not a button pusher to turn the machine on, so something goes wrong with it and you waste a part. You know you got the theory behind what you're doing. And I think we're missing the theory. I think we're trying to get to a job, but we're missing the theory.
Well,
You're right,
we become milestone driven. We become timeline milestone driven, and because of that, we have to meet the deadline. The customer said it has to be ready by Sunday, we have to do a QA checkpoint, so they become so focused on the milestone versus the quality and the skill that's required to do it one time, so that we, in our industry, we always say we don't have we're planning to do it, spend the 50 cents one time, but we spend the 50 cents 3 times on rework and overtime to get those people to go back because they don't meet the customer's requirements.
And you were saying something.
I said it.
You said it?
Yeah, everyone hear me? I basically just said, we don't want to minimalize CNC machining because even if it's computerized, you can still craft it as a machinist. And there is a lot of scrap and rework. And what you're talking about is cost before quality. But getting back to the survey, I'd like to see how the timeline, how this is going to, when, how, all the details, kind of,
probably be in the July timeframe. So we would probably, or June timeframe. Well, we would have it to you anyways, but it's rolling out, so that, so in the June timeframe. So it's already end of February.
So between now and June,
Yeah,
all of those
between now and
steps will
June.
take place.
Glad you're excited.
We want to release it with an industry, I think they create, I forgot, when is manufacturing week, that was announced last
Oh, that's, I think we have to, so
Oh,
okay.
well, we might be able to release it by then. So, highlighting it with the industry so we get more attention to the industry. So these reports, usually, they help job seekers identify, but also we use that as marketing material. Can't say that as our nonprofit work, communications material, so that way we get more attention and awareness going on.
So I'm trying to think of questions that can provide meaningful data, right? And what's critical to me, I think the first question almost has to be is trying to understand where in the corporate life cycle this company is. Because for us, when we're a bunch of PhD guys and we hire our friends, one of our friend guys is a concrete company out of business, but he kind of knew manufacturing. We kind of did things, we're building ones, tens, hundreds, or maybe up to 1,000 or so units a year. And that's fine. So we're looking for people who are motivated, self-starters, wanted to learn, and had some critical thinking skills that could just train them, what need to be done. You just heard we're now in this cycle. We're looking at making 10,000 to 100,000 a year units, and now we're looking for specific traits of what we need in our jobs. And then as we grow into a much larger company, we're going to have 17 different tiers of manufacturing for one specific job. As they grow, we're going to be looking for a tier 5, whatever it is, specialist. And so having
But also,
that data from
succession planning versus new hire, all those different pieces.
and so depending on where I'm at in the life cycle, we can conclude with answers.
Is there any other question that kind of we might have not thought of that sparked his
Well, I thought that Jessica had said something early that I wrote a note of that I thought might be a good question would be to ask the manufacturers or the industry folks, what are your customers demanding of you? Or however you want to phrase that, because that's where it really begins. What is it that your customers are asking of you?
That's where it begins, is where it ends.
Yeah, because that's what you need.
Because if they don't come back, we're in trouble.
I know from working with them, they've got more and more regulation on OSHA stuff and on their welding stuff. They no longer can just do welding. Somebody actually comes out now and watches you do it as part of the quality inspection. That didn't used to happen. And so those kinds of things that are changing the industry, I think that's what we have to get at, because that will make a difference in the kinds of skills people have to have.
A checkpoint is a whole evolution of how the government calls it a checkpoint. I mean, it's huge.
Well, even knowing how to work under that condition, changes the way you do training and teaching.
But you may not want to make it customer slash regulations, because regulations in some cases are requiring additional training that wasn't required before. So just because we're all familiar with how regulations can be changeable.
Well, even at the beginning, when you start at the birth of what we do, and that's in a proposal, after the customer sees how much it's going to cost them for us to repair their ship, the very next thing that they look at are, what are you doing to better yourself as a company? And how is, if we, our contracts are awarded in 5-year, LPDs, DDGs, depending on the class of ship. So if we get a 5-year DDG contract, and that 5-year will be 5 or 6 ships in that, it's not one size fits all. We might do 11 different things to all those different ships. But after, all of that stuff, the numbers, and we know it's going to cost us $1 million to fix the ship. What are you doing as a company to give me more for that $1 million of my time in your yard, or my time at 32nd Street, or your time on our ship? So it's much more than just fixing the ship. It's long-term, it's okay, my brother's coming in next, DDG 47 is coming in right after me. How do you apply, what is your process of applying lessons learned?
And maybe that's more than you guys can get down into, and we'll have to do it from a different angle, maybe working with the news group, because I think those, for me, are the kinds of conversations I think about Jane, who has the welding program. If she knows that, then she can inform her welding program and make sure that the welders understand it's a different world out there than it used to be. And that kind of drilling down for us is what will really make a difference, how we can help support you guys.
And those are the types of things we can elaborate in the interviews and things like that, but the reality is that this study, it's not going to stop there. There's going to be additional conversations that need to be had, and that's the purpose of it, to gear us towards that.
are you looking for employees? So we know that we're looking at the same one ads that you all are using. So where are the sites that you look for employees?
Our model is agencies. We go through agencies. We like to try before we buy, because we're in such a specialized market, that we do not want to hire direct for machine operator, machinist roles.
We do the same thing. We have a standard, we have 1,589 employees. We try to maintain that. When our work requires us to go higher, we'll subcontract out and sort of, kind of what you say, we try it on. And if we like it, and we find someone with quality, we will go all those extra miles to convert those people over to VA employees. We use subcontractors. Mainly, we do a lot of promoting of our own website, VAsystems.com. I mean, you can work for VA anywhere. You want to go to the UK, you can go to Hawaii, you can go to Jacksonville, you can go anywhere. The newspaper, but mainly it's our own website. But we do the same thing where we have a peak amount and we stay there. And that's sort of it's not a guarantee, but it tells our employees that they're here to stay. And then when our work allows that we go to peaks, we'll sub out.
And most of the small manufacturing companies actually don't have the bandwidth to do that. So typically what they'll do is they'll go to family members first. Then they'll go to Craigslist. If they feel like they don't want to go to hospital. And if they've had good experience with an agency, they might utilize that. But it is very difficult for them to mine sort of things they don't have access to. So
A lot of it's word of mouth. It's who you know, and oh, my uncle can do that, or really, it really is.
Well, and when you say agencies, is there a specific agency that, that caters to this industry?
Yes, there is. So there's different ones that do, they do better with assemblers, machinists, so some of them are kind of isolated there. Some do better with engineers, so yes, there's different agencies that we work with.
We use VMS, which is vendor management services, and then the fee that we pay them, it's their responsibility. If we say we need 50 painters and we need 50 laggers, the burden is on them to go find the laggers and painters.
So VRS, you said?
VMS.
Aerotech. Aerotech staff.
Yeah, they're great.
Is there any others that people use?
They have stuff for accounting and I can't.
Right.
They are.
So
So
there's
there's quite a few and they just. Right.
So, when we work in when I work in small businesses, we stuck with one placement agency and went to them all the time. Do you diversify which placement agencies you go to, or?
We use VMS.
Yes, you need to diversify because they don't, Aerotech does mostly technicians, and if you want somebody in accounting or if you want an engineer, you go to different places for that.
So, we're only 17 people, so we've gone from friends and family to peer networking. So we don't have friends at all.
Absolutely.
Who
Who greater is going to know than your circle of youth, who you socialize with, who your family members with, that's where you're going to get your best networking.
I think the other thing that's come up recently is LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So LinkedIn is another resource.
Absolutely. TriStaff, Brandstaff,
What's that?
TriStaff, Brandstaff.
They're all the agencies.
I teach a class of undergrads, and I always tell them, you think your resume is going to get you your job, but it's really your network, and your loose network, not even your tight network. So are there current programs or certificates that your company prefers or finds valuable?
San Diego City College Machine Technology Program.
You can have my potato chips.
OSHA certification. The OSHA certification is huge. If we have two people who came into the industry and they both have the same qualifications, and this person had the OSHA card and this person did not, I'll take the OSHA guy hands down.
You just saw that industrial safety class, but it wasn't a shipyard class.
Well, there's maritime, there's agriculture, there's lots of different types, there's lots of difference. And then Ship Repair Association also will do the 8-hour, but what does our director say, lead, follow, or get out the way? We require the 10-hour, and there's also a 30-hour. So we definitely set the bar as far as what some of the other industries should be doing. But again, that OSHA, and again, that's our customer that mandates. You will not come onto our vessel if you do not have 10-hour OSHA.
They're maritime specific.
Maritime specific, yeah.
Because that's a little more strict.
Yeah, I
something that's very,
So what you'll find is that
going on there.
people always ask for it, it's preferred. So if you look at people's jobs descriptions, they'll say, you know, green belt preferred, black belt preferred, something like that. So there's been, it's a way to define someone's abilities. It ends up not necessarily being a requirement, because it's a lot of hours.
Oh, it absolutely is.
Lori, sorry, Lori, did you want to?
The only thing I was going to say is that, especially with a lot of our smaller manufacturers that we work with, one of the things that they are leaning towards is if a potential employee has worked at a facility that's either ISO or AS 9100 certified or has gone through that certification, lean certification, because they know quality and because it has been demanded of them in their past job, that is definitely a favorable attribute.
Rich, you got your hand up.
Right, I just wanted to mention that we do have the City College of Manufacturing, Engineering, and Technology Associates with, and there's a lead certificate available in that program. It's all night-based.
Well, we're coming to the end of our time together, and so I wanted to just quickly ask, is there anything that we missed that, I mean, there's a lot that we missed, but is there anything that you want to share very quickly? Yes,
Actually, I don't want to share, I'd like to ask a question.
please.
This group here mentioned your consultants.
Yes.
So what kind of consulting are you doing for companies? I just wanted to understand a little better.
We primarily focus on business development from the standpoint of taking a look at untapped business opportunities and creating strategic partnerships for small businesses and aligning them a lot of times with larger businesses or like businesses that can help propel and promote what they do. So, and we just have happened to, with being in San Diego, we have a lot in the manufacturing field, in all different industries, but we've done a lot in high tech, consumer electronics, and so have pretty broad mix.
And then, anything else? Yes?
I'm not sure I saw the whole survey.
I don't think we shared those.
We have not shared that word, so we can definitely email that out to everyone if you'd like to see it in advance.
And the other thing is, I'm gonna just walk around while we do the closing and pick up, if you've written notes you'd like us to have them, I'll just walk around and I'll pick them up. Oh, and thank you so much, Jen.
Yeah, thank you all for coming. We really appreciate your time. We know everybody is very, very busy. We have your contact information. Hopefully you will agree to continue to be in conversation with us. As you can see through this process, there are things we need to refine. We're going to continue to need your input and support in order to refine those things. We're going to broaden the group a little bit so that we are making sure that we're reaching all the different sectors. There were those 5 sectors that we are focusing in on, which is biomanufacturing, the maritime navigation, precision manufacturing, medical device manufacturing, and then there was one that I, clean tech, always goes through, clean tech. Clean tech, no, it's clean tech. Clean tech is part of the maritime. Yeah, I don't know why I always get the 4 and forget them. But anyway, those will be the 5 categories that will help us narrow down. And again, all of
Get this one.